All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. We are here with Chad Ensley. Welcome to the podcast, first off.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Before we started, you let us know it's under a little bit of like some rough circumstances, but either way, I'm very happy to have you here. I'm glad that you took the time out of what you got going on. That's very important right now to come here. For people that don't know you, you are the owner of Dash and Joey's.
Yep.
Have some background in like owning and operating gyms, and a hybrid athlete. Just completed your first 100-mile ultra marathon, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah. Right.
So like jealous because you already know what it feels like, and I'm like so anxious to figure out what it is. But can you give us just a little bit of quick backstory of like, you know, where you come from, how you got an entrepreneurship, and what got you into ultra running?
Yeah. So without going too much into detail, but from California, grew up there, and then went to Fresno State for college.
Okay.
Graduated there, and it was in 2008 when I graduated. So if people remember, that was
How old are you?
37.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that was when the housing market crashed.
Yeah.
And, everything was bad,
Right.
especially in California. So I really didn't know what to do after I graduated. Like everybody else, there were no jobs.
Right.
And I was either underqualified or overqualified. And there was just, and it was like, hey, you need 5 years experience. And I'm like,
Right.
I just graduated college. I don't, you don't have it. And they know you don't.
Right.
So my dad called me. We were living in California at the time. They lived in Sacramento at the time. He called me up and said, hey, nice. And said that he wants to open up a gym.
Okay.
And he had no gym background. He worked out, but he had no gym background. He worked in newspapers.
Oh, wow.
So that was my background. I have a degree in exercise physiology. So, and I just graduated with that degree.
Well, that's like a natural step for you, but like a big leap for him. Right?
Exactly. And I had been personal training at Gold's Gym in California. So I had the kind of the brain for it. And then he said he wanted to open up a gym, and I said, where? And he said, Lima. And now again, it wasn't a point on a map that he just, said, hey, let's go pick Lima.
Yeah.
So all my family's from here.
Okay.
My parents graduated from Shawnee.
Gotcha.
Grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, all went to Shawnee or Spencerville. So they're all from here.
Gotcha.
My sister and I were the only ones that, let alone out of Lima, out of the state of Ohio.
Right.
Grew up in California. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I remember, visiting Lima all the time.
Yeah.
And I'd go and work out the Y. I mean, I'm probably sure I've seen people, when I was growing up, I just didn't know who they were at the time.
Not seeing them for so long. Like,
I'm like, hey, I remember you.
Right.
But I said, yeah, having a 24-hour gym in Lima, that'd be awesome, So kind of went on that. And then fast forward, we did that for 10 years.
Okay.
And in between that, and you kind of know how it is. I think you work with your mom for a little bit and doing the things and the businesses, and we butted heads,
Did you?
a lot. Yeah. I think
It's
it was
good
just
to hear, because I feel like I'm the only one sometimes. Like I see these family businesses and they're like all just kumbaya and getting together. And like,
I think
wasn't like that for us.
No, I think that's like all like behind closed doors. Like, we don't know what's going on. They can have this Facebook, and I'm like, yeah, that's not how it is, So, we'd butt heads, and I was like, man, I really want to do something on my own. And my wife actually pushed me into it, because I would take her out to California. She'd never been out there.
Gotcha.
Took her out there, and take her to these juice bars. But I was used to that.
Right.
Like
it was a normal thing.
Oh man, growing up in high school and stuff, I get smoothies and like fresh squeezed juices and all the time.
Yeah.
But out here, it's like you don't have a lot of options.
No.
And she told me the second time I took her out, because that's where I would take her, these smoothie and juice bars. She's like, you know what? You want to do your own business? I said, well, yeah, I want to deviate from my dad, for me.
Right.
And she said, you need to open up a smoothie place in Lima. And I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like, Lima's not ready for that. This is probably 2015.
Gotcha.
And
I do remember when you were like opening it, that I was just like, wow, we need this. And that was the thing, was like, man,
you were one of the few
behind it. Like, well, people get behind it though.
Yeah. So that was the whole, so I opened in 2017.
Okay.
So, but this was in 2015.
Yep.
And I just knew it wasn't the right timing, and maybe I wasn't ready, at a certain point too. But anyways, again, fast forward to 2017, made the plunge, got the financing. And a lot of people think that and again, you probably get the same thing. Like, oh, your dad probably gave you the money and stuff. I'm like, dude, my dad didn't give me anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
My mom don't have a single.
He didn't even want me to do it.
Yeah. My mom didn't have a single dollar into everything that we've done for the last 4 years.
But I guarantee you people think that.
Oh, for 100%.
And people, and it is what it is, it's just,
but care to correct them.
It's hard sometimes. And that's a lot of times when we would butt heads too, because people would supersede me and go to my dad. And if I said no on something, they go to him. And I'm like, dude, I can't take this anymore. So that was kind of one of the things. It wasn't my dad's fault, but he just couldn't relate to it. He didn't work with his dad. He didn't have a family business. I said, dude, you're not looking at it like I am. Like everyone thinks I'm 12, and I moved out here. I was 23. I graduated college, I had a degree, I thought that meant something.
And there was probably days that you felt like, okay, I am the owner, I'm the boss. Like people respect it. Oh, really? Because for me, there was like, there'd be days, and then there'd be days that I'm like, yeah, I'm just a little kid here playing, I think business with my mom.
I think there was a lot of that, like I felt like obviously I knew what I did. I was working 16-hour days. And again, it's easy to work 16-hour days when you don't know anybody. Right. I didn't grow up here, so I had no friends here.
Right.
So all I did was the gym, and I trained, and I slept at the gym, and you know what I mean? Like I was there all the time. People are like, man, you never go anywhere. I'm like, don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I graduated from college. I'm not in the whole bar scene anymore. So like, I really didn't go out that much. But I think one of those things was it just kept irking me, that I was just kind of there and like I'm, Lyle's son.
Yeah.
Instead of Chad.
Right.
I'm like, no, I have a name. So it just kind of like spurned all this stuff inside me. And then again, fast forward to Dash and Joey's, it's named after my dogs. A lot of people don't know that.
Yep, I see.
Which is crazy because I'm going on, this will be going on my 7th year.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that. But yeah, it's named after my dogs. And, I did that because they were close to me. And I had just had my son, my first son.
Okay.
But it didn't really have a ring to it with his name. So I was like, well, I'll just go with my dogs. And that kind of stuck on that.
Oh yeah, that's a good name.
But yeah, to have something on my own. And this is when we come into the entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
Where it didn't fail because I would not allow it to fail.
Yeah.
There was no option.
Right.
There was no plan B. I didn't have plan B.
There's no backup.
Because I didn't want a plan B. If I had a plan B, it probably would have failed.
Yeah. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I think it was Steve Harvey that I heard one time out of all people, like Family Feud guy. But he had like at the end of an episode or something, he like walked out to the crowd and he was just like, listen, like if you're always worrying about having the safety net there, like you're never going to jump. Like just jump. Like you can't figure it out if you don't just go do it. And the most successful people, I feel like, all have that same mindset of like, you just got to make it happen. When there's no other option, you don't have a choice. Like,
I mean, and you're scared, I mean, you're not, I mean, we're human.
Well, especially when you walk away from your parents' thing and it's like, watch me go do this on my own. Like I'm going to go prove myself.
Yes.
That failure would be like very hard to swallow. Because that's definitely like, the thing that nips at the back of my heels sometimes is like, there's no way I can let this crumble.
No. And again, too, like my dad is very supportive of me.
I've heard great things about your dad just as a person.
Yeah. And he supports what I do now. But if he's honest with you and you ever talk to him, he'll tell you he didn't think it was going to do well. He thought I was going to fail. Now, not mean in a mean way, just being a dad.
You just didn't see that.
Just say, hey, like I'm worried about you. Like I don't think it's a good idea. And I'm like, like I know it's a good idea, and I'll show you why it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that. I didn't want to prove him wrong, but I wanted to prove myself right.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was going to be a rough road, and I know that Lima, as you know, is finicky. Sometimes people only give you one chance. They don't care.
Lima is the place that like loves to go to the new place.
Yes.
And knows that they're gonna not have all the kinks worked out and then just trash them.
Yes.
And I'm like, why? Like, why?
And they're known
for complain that there's nothing here.
Yes. And they're known for that.
Oh yeah.
And you just
they did it to us out of 12 East.
I know. You shake your head. And it's not everybody.
Right.
But man, it's a lot of people. Anything new, they're all it's 2.5 hour wait and they're complaining about the wait. And I'm like, not me, but like in general, if you go somewhere. And it's like, it's brand new, guys. It's brand new.
Right.
And then with me, just like you, I will give multiple chances. You know, I mean, if it was bad service or if it was bad food or whatever, especially that first year because you're getting all the kinks out, whatever. And that's what kind of made it scary too. Like I was like, I can't leave.
Right.
I can't leave my business. Like I need to
Right.
be there because I can't trust anybody else.
Yeah, that's happening. Yeah.
And it still was, you had mixed reviews on Facebook and all this stuff, and you try not to read that crap, but I mean, it gets to you.
Oh yeah.
And I knew to make it, I worked 7 days a week for
I was just about to ask what those hours
5.5 years.
Yeah.
For 5.5 years, and it was a lot of sacrifice. I missed a lot of dinners. My wife was getting on me, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like, and we had another kid. So the family was growing, and she's like, hey, did you get into this to not see us, and didn't you do your own business to do what you want to do?
Did you guys have a little bit of that conversation before the launch? Like, hey, if we're going to go this route, it's probably going to look like this.
Yeah. So, I met her at the gym.
Okay.
She signed up at the gym and stuff. So that's where I met my now wife.
Gotcha.
So she never saw the gym side of it. So I did fill her in because she had no clue, what, she knows hard work goes into it, but she didn't know how much. And I said, hey, like, it's going to be a lot because for me to succeed, I'm doing something totally different in Lima, totally different. And what they think is smoothies,
it's already proven here.
Exactly. And what they think is smoothies is not what I'm doing. I'm doing everything's made to order, everything's fresh, and they think it's a fast food smoothie. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I do. And then when they're paying $7, $8 for it, it's a premium on top of that. It's gonna be a while before I can get people on board.
Right.
So I knew I had probably 2-3 years of like just working my butt off. And she knew, she was on board, but I think even when you get to that point, and then COVID hit. So, after 3 years
traction.
Yes. Yeah. After 3 years, COVID hit. And then you have to, game plan switch and say, okay, how are we going to do this? And that's when my wife, she can make everything on the menu. And the reason why is because of COVID.
Stepped in during then.
Yeah. Yeah. Because she couldn't work.
Right.
So I said, guess what, babe? You're on my staff. Everybody else isn't working, man. So I had to let everybody else go, which is most college kids or whatever.
Right.
And I had my sister-in-law at the time, and I said, hey, I'll keep you on. I'll pay cash or whatever, And then my wife, I said, all right, just 3 of us. And a lot of the times it was my wife and I, and just busting our butts, man.
Like that,
with the
like
kids, in the
really?
In the room,
really,
the office.
Yeah,
we put a gate up, and the kids were there, man. I mean, that's how we had to do it.
Yeah.
Do you think it got us closer?
Yeah, I'm just curious, like if you feel like, because I know one thing that is difficult for my wife and I, we had that conversation before I jumped like face first into everything else, right? Because she got with me when I was on the very tail end of the bars, because as you know, like we did bar restaurant stuff. I was just on that same thing. Like I got to get out and just do something on my own. Me and my mom had went through a couple phases where like I left the bar, did something on my own. It started gaining some success. And then she's like, what do you think about coming back to the bar and doing X, Y, and Z? So I'd come back, or I would, get shitty and leave, or whatever happened. But this was the first time that it was like, we weren't on bad terms. Nothing was wrong. It was just like, I got to go build something on my own because we're not on the same page about everything. And I was feeling like I'm, just playing business with my mom or whatever. But Lish was on the tail end of the bar thing. And then, so like when we were serious and got engaged, I told her like, listen, what I'm about to try to go do, like, it's going to require a lot. And if you're not on board, like I knew I was marrying her. So I was like, if you're not on board with it, you need to tell me now, because this is what it's going to look like. Because you haven't seen that before, because all of her family worked, the normal 9 to 5s, had 401ks, all that stuff. Yeah. So she had never seen it. And I was like, this is what it's going to look like. Because I already knew what I was going to have to do. And I was like, if you're not on board, tell me, and I'll go get a regular job. Like, but I can't do what I'm going to try to do if you're not on board. And I think the piece that's still missing a little bit is she's never been in it to fully understand. So I'm curious if like your wife actually being in it and is like, wow, I kind of really see what you do now. If it kind of helped.
Yes. Yeah. On that part, I think it did help, because I mean, she knows the business in and out, like the day-to-day stuff.
She sees what you really like actually go through at work.
Yeah. I think on that part of it, it does help, because, now it's like she's there right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She'll fill in if, employee calls off or
Oh, that's
whatever,
awesome. Yeah.
because again, I have that now.
Right.
If COVID never happened, like I said, I wish COVID never happened, but
Right.
again, stuff happens.
There's a
and,
bunch of good that did come out of COVID.
Yeah. I mean,
Tons of bad, but there was some good things that
exactly.
definitely happened.
And that's what I tell people. I'm like, there's always something that comes out of bad,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think that really helped us as in the business too.
Mhm.
And the reason why I don't get help from the government and the state is because I did too well.
Mhm. They denied us for everything.
Oh yeah, I didn't get anything.
Every single thing.
During the pandemic, they're like,
these
oh,
people got like a fake nail business
they
right
got
out of their kitchen.
$10,000. Yeah,
20 grand.
I know,
Like,
man.
how?
People ask me all the time, like, how you didn't get any
Yes.
money? I'm like, dude, because I did too well. My numbers, because I was, now maybe if it was 10 years ago,
Right.
but I was on the way up.
Yeah.
So when 2020
got that
hit,
traction.
yeah, I already had the traction.
Mhm.
So when June came,
Right.
and they let everybody out, I was booming.
Yeah.
And what do people want to do? Get healthier.
Mhm.
So they're trying to eat healthier. And what do I?
Especially that's a good thing that
what do
came
I
out of
have?
COVID. Yeah.
I have healthy stuff.
Yeah.
So they were trying to supplement their lunches and whatever with the smoothies or juices, whatever. And, yeah, I didn't. And then they're, oh, let's see your payroll. Maybe that changed. I'm like,
Mhm.
nope, they didn't get me on that either. So they're like, well, we can't help you out, with the
Right.
whole ERC thing and all
We
that.
felt that was like our for sure in because we had W-2 employees and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and there was other bars even telling us like, there's no way you guys can't get this. And we're like, all right, we'll try it.
Yeah.
Like there was people, accountants calling us like, all right, well, we'll do everything. And then if you get paid, we get X amount
Yeah.
because we know we can get it done.
Same thing.
We're like, all right, sure, try it.
Yeah.
Nope, denied.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the
I did the same thing. This guy was like adamant. He's like, oh, man, I guarantee you, even if it's only like $5,000, man, wouldn't you want $5,000? I said, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
But
of
so go
course.
ahead, man. And same thing. He's like, yeah, you didn't qualify. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know I didn't.
That's stupid.
But it is what it is. But we had to try.
Yeah.
So again, kind of going off that tangent, I think, she's a big part of it. And again, like I always tell people, like my wife is a big part of just not only like the business side, because she has her own thing. She does hair. She's a hairstylist.
Oh, okay.
So she has her own business.
Gotcha.
But she can come in, help me out. She knows what I need. She's my grocery shopper. She goes, to the grocery store like almost every day. You know how it is.
It's like the
at
best restaurant you can have. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day too, she knows what I go through. And like I said, doing the 5.5 years, 7 days a week,
Mhm.
why it's 5.5 years was that's when I put a stop to it.
Gotcha.
I sat down with her and I said, it's just too much, and again, the employee situation,
Mhm.
I have college kids that would leave and, I'd have, kids that would quit and you train them and they quit and blah, blah, whatever. And I was just tired of it, and I said, hey, like, yeah, I can't do 7 days a week anymore. And plus, like, we could never take the kids to the zoo. We could
Right.
never do anything because I'd have to close the
You're
shop.
in very short windows of having any
Time.
availability.
Anytime.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, we're going to close Sundays. And I'm going to kind of condense the hours a little bit, and that really helped.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go anywhere on Sundays. We didn't have to go to the store. We didn't have,
Right.
it's just one of those things where now Sunday we can kind of relax and chill and,
Right.
hey, let's go Saturday night to Cincinnati and get a
Yeah.
hotel and go to, we went to that iFly.
Oh, okay.
Indoor
Yeah.
skydiving.
Like skydiving.
Oh, the
That's
kids
on-
loved it. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we took all day Sunday because we spent the night Saturday,
Mhm.
did it Sunday, took our time, got some lunch,
Right.
and then went home. Didn't have to rush
Did
back.
you guys notice that like condensing those out? Were you worried about condensing the hours was going to like lose you as far as revenue and stuff? And did you find that condensing the hours, you actually didn't lose as much as you thought you would?
Yeah, it was a good question. At that point, and you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
I just didn't care.
Yeah. I gotcha.
I didn't care anymore.
Right.
I didn't care.
If it
if
goes
I
down,
lost-
it goes
I-
down. Let me
Like
get my
I mean,
time back.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lose. I'm not gonna lose my business. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm established. I know what I'm doing. I really didn't care if I lost a little bit of business.
Gotcha.
And if that sounds bad, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody I've talked to about is because my kids and my family. They're like, dude, it one or the other is gonna give.
Right.
You're either going to put too much time in the business and you're just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And yeah, it's good because you're getting more money,
Right.
but then your family suffers.
When me and Alexa sat here and talked about work-life balance, and
Yeah.
she was like, I don't have work-life balance. She was like, some weeks it's like work takes a little more. Some weeks family takes a little more. I was like, that's so relatable because I've never put it that way to anybody. I always tell people like I don't have good work-life balance, but I know that I don't miss games. I don't miss, you know what I mean? But I know I work a lot. But it is definitely like some weeks it's up here, some weeks the family stuff's more important or whatever. But the reason I asked that is because I actually told my mom for a while to condense the hours of her other bar. And she was like, no, there's no way, blah, blah, blah. She cut off 2 whole days from what she was open and it got busier.
Yeah.
And she was just.
Yeah, and to answer your other question, the latter question was, no, I didn't lose business.
Right.
And it's crazy, right? Like you think like condensing hours, condensing days, and it just, and again, Lima, if you're listening to this, you know, thank you for that because that's you guys and you guys support my business.
Right.
That, you know, if you were coming on Sundays, now you're coming Saturdays.
Yeah.
You know, now my Saturdays are busier. Or during the week, I'm going to try and get in. And I always get people that say that, you know, they're like, man, I try and get in earlier because I know you close earlier and whatever. And I was like, no, I appreciate that, man. And there are some people that say, hey, man, like it sucks because I can't get to you. I can't get to you. And I'm like, yeah, man, I get it. But I had to do it, you know, for me mentally and then my family.
Right.
You know, like I had to do it because I'm not, you see, I mean, like, how old are you?
33.
Yeah. So I know we're around the same age.
Yeah.
Like you see all these people that are in their 50s, right? And 60s, maybe they're entrepreneurship or they used to. And that's like their one regret, man. Is they're like, man, I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have done this. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. There's I don't know where I've seen it, but there was something that's saying like, you're never going to be on your deathbed being like, I really wish I would have put in that extra 4 hours at the office. I really wish I would have closed that deal or made that meeting or what. Like, it's always going to be, I wish I had that time with my kid. I wish I didn't miss that birthday party.
It's experience.
I wish I was, I wish I went on the trip with the family and
There's a guy at the gym. He said it best. And this is not verbatim, but it's pretty much what he said. He said, there's no U-Haul behind that hearse.
Yeah.
And that's a big statement, you know, huge. It's like, doesn't matter what you acquire, you know, say you're a billionaire, it doesn't matter.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're going to die too.
Yeah.
And if you die with less experiences and your kids don't even really know you or hate you, then I don't think you can't take any of that with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather have more experiences and stuff than worry about, you know, oh, I want to make more money or I want to make more X. 2000, you know, people are all about goals, right? And quotas. And it's like, dude, I get it to a point if that's what you want your life to be.
Right.
You know, you've Gary V.
Yeah.
You date Gary V.
Gary V.
I do too.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to be him.
No.
And I don't want to be.
Dude.
You have to make that decision.
Yes.
Do you want to be him?
Listen.
No, I do not.
You could not have said that like better time. So anybody that is watching or listening, if you don't know who Gary Vee is, look him up. If you do know, you know that he is like the biggest workaholic that there is.
He's awesome.
Like, period. I think that he had a big part of the resurgence of the hustle culture and all that stuff.
Yep.
But just yesterday, I don't know if you follow Nick Bear at all.
Yeah.
Nick Bear had Gary Vee's personal trainer on his podcast. I literally listened to it yesterday.
Oh, okay.
He was like with Gary Vee 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If Gary was in Tokyo, he's like, I was in Tokyo. If he was in here, I was in here. If he wanted to work out at 3 a.m, we were working out at 3 a.m. or whatever. He said, before getting that job, like really, really wanted to be successful. And like, I wanted everything that he had. He said, until I was sitting next to him, he was like, and then I lived his life. He was like, and I literally realized I don't want that. He's like, and I guarantee you 99% of the people that watch his stuff and like aspire to be him are never going to want to put in the type of time and effort and sacrifices that he does. And he's like, but he knows he's doing it. His family's on board with it, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, but that life is not for everybody. Like,
no,
at all.
No.
So was very big for me. Like somebody that lived it and was like, bro, you think you want that, but you don't.
And another one too. Do you follow Tim Grover?
Yeah.
Relentless and was Kobe Bryant's trainer and Michael Jordan's trainer.
Yeah.
And he's a really good one too. And I've read both of his books. And we can talk about books later too, but
quotes is a big thing for me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing that I've really delved into. Like, I can be a voracious reader, but I wasn't, but then I got big time into it the last few years, but anyways, yeah. So Tim Grover says the same thing, you know, what was the one thing he said? He said his daughter on her birthday one time. It was like her 8th birthday or something, and he was getting ready to pack up and go somewhere where Michael was playing or whatever. And she looked at him like crying, like his daughter crying, and said, "Can you just skip one day to, be here for my birthday and play with me and blah, blah." And he sat her down and he said, "You know what? Pretty much what you said with Gary Vee. 99.9% of us would have probably teared up and said, 'Yep, I'm staying home with my daughter,' But he left. Tim Grover left and went to Michael Jordan and said, 'Nope.'" And
as much as I would like to think that I could potentially be one of those guys at some point,
I would never do that.
This morning, my daughter is 4 weeks old. And I swear to God, this morning, I was like, I got to leave by 9:15. Got home from the gym. I like hold her for a little bit, blah, blah. I was like, I got to leave. She can't even talk.
Yep.
She looked at me and I was just holding her. I was like, Daddy's calling off today. Like I didn't call. I just spent an extra 45 minutes.
Yep.
But I couldn't imagine her actually saying it because all she had to do was just be cute. And I was like, all right, this is more important.
And I think that, teach their own on that,
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's no right or wrong.
Like you and I are going to hustle and we do, and we grind, but there's a different type of grind. And I think if people understood that and they actually followed the people that we follow, I think majority of people would be like, "Nah, I'm not doing that, man." Because it's the
100%.
the losses you have,
I know exactly what you mean.
Sacrifice is huge.
That's kind of what we've been talking about is, who is the audience that we're speaking to and that we're putting this content out to.
Yes.
And, so I listen to David Goggins. I've read his books.
Yep.
I listen to anything that dude puts out, I listen to, right?
Yep. Me too.
I know that exactly where he's willing to go. Like, as much as I think like, okay, he can get me fired up. Like, I'm not willing to go where he's going, right?
No.
And like go as hard as he's going.
No.
And me and Cam have had conversations about like, okay, we're not talking to the people that want to be David Goggins. Like we're just talking about the people that just want to do better and like grind to improve.
Yes.
In general.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to get to a Goggins. They don't have to run 100-mile ultra marathons. They don't have to do all these things.
No.
They just need to be somebody that wants to get better. And that's all that we're worried about at this point.
And Goggins is one of those, those are one of the things I got into when I was reading, and Rich Roll, and I don't know if you read his book,
not his book, but I've watched a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, he has a good book too. A lot of those books I read, kind of getting that fire into it. And like you said, it's funny that you and I take from it not just the grind aspect, but it's like, well, I can run 100 miles. You know what I mean? And you signed up, and I signed up, and I did it, and you're getting ready to do it. And I think to some people, like, that's insane. Like you read a book and you're just gonna go do it. And I'm like, yeah. I
came across the Courtney Dauwalter video on YouTube.
Oh,
and
she's
I was like,
amazing. She's amazing.
People did that. And I was like, I looked at my wife and I was like, I think I could do that. And she was like, there's no way. And I was like, why would you say that? Like now I 100%
now I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna do it.
You know me, now I got to do it.
I love when people say that.
Oh yeah.
They say that you're crazy, or
it's probably too a little tight. Like, just like your dad, like, I don't think this is a good idea. And you're like, now I knew it was a good idea. Now I really know that I'm going to execute.
Exactly. And I think that's a big, I think that kind of, transitions into the running.
Well, that's exactly where I wanted to go. No, that's exactly where I wanted to go is I want to get into like your path to personal development in general. I think I told you, like, to me, because I know that like we go to the same gym. I've seen you and they're like lifting and doing like strength training. You're obviously doing endurance feats and stuff like that. And that's a hybrid athlete. Like I'd seen something, I don't know if it was Nick Bear or somebody else, but like, they're like this term hybrid athlete. Like people think that like, if you're not doing an Ironman, then you're not a hybrid athlete. Like if you're not doing X, Y, and Z, you're not. And it's like, no, if you are lifting and strength training and doing cardiovascular, like endurance type of thing, you're a hybrid athlete. You're doing both, because it used to be all one or all the other, whatever.
Yeah.
So like, I'm curious what got you into one, the 100-mile race, and two, just your mind. Have you always had the mindset of like, I'm going to train like a hybrid athlete? Or were you at one point like, it's all about lifting? Have you always kind of balanced the two?
Yeah. No, I never ran, man. I never ran.
Same.
You know what I mean? And it's and the same thing. Like I ran, and that's what's crazy because people think we're crazy. They're like, "Well, you never ran." I was never on cross country. I never on track. I never did it. I wrestled, played baseball, and I would run for those sports. You know, I probably in wrestling we'd maybe run. I don't know, 4 miles was the most we ran, I think, because it was we weren't running to run, we were running to get in shape for wrestling. And then I mean, have you wrestled?
Yep.
You
I've
know,
wrestled,
you
football,
don't get in
baseball.
shape running, you get in shape wrestling.
Yeah.
Because it beats you up.
Yeah.
So we would run to get cardiovascular, you know, with our heart and our lungs, whatever. But like wrestling shape is not running shape. It's just different. Like if I wrestled right now, I'd be gassed out in 30 seconds.
100%.
Totally different. Energy systems, everything. And I think you know all the energy systems, and when you're looking up all that stuff, and that's why they say it's a hybrid athlete. Because when you look at the oxidative system, when you're doing like endurance, and then you're working like the glycolytic or the creatine phosphate system.
Well, and all that I'm starting to learn more about it.
Like, well, that's part of my degree, so
big,
that's why I know more about that stuff.
Well,
not
the
reading
big
about
base
it,
for
but
me, I would love to get into, like, if you have a lot of knowledge on that, I would love to. But
yeah,
for me right now, and like some stuff that I'm passing on to like the people that are, you know, like now running and wanting to go to the gym with us and stuff, is I didn't even understand the aerobic base, like your heart rate.
Yeah.
Like on my mind, because my running and conditioning was from sports, was like, all right, if I'm going to go get better at running, then I got to run hard as shit, like as long as I can, and then just hope that that stretches out.
yeah.
And I was making like no progress. And then I started to study it. And I'm like, oh, you actually have to run slower and keep your heart rate in like the
training zones.
Training zones, like zone 3, and then let it go for a long time, and then you're going to build it up. And now that I've done that and kept my heart rate low, I've gotten faster, like my pace is faster, and I can run way further. I'm like, thank God, because I was going to do it the total opposite way. Well, but I'm starting to learn about, like, you know, the glycogens and just things like that.
It's and to get back for your question too, like I've worked out.
Right.
So since I was 15, I lifted. I never stopped, never took time off, never took months off or weeks off, whatever. I've just always been dedicated to that. So in my 20s, I was more like powerlifting, and, you know, I got heavy, and, you know, I was like 200 pounds, and I weigh 155 right now. So if that tells you something, I weigh 200 pounds.
Shit, 50 pounds added on you. Yeah.
I was jacked. You know what I mean? So, and it was about, cause I was kind of a shorter dude and I wrestled.
Gotcha.
I didn't want to cut weight anymore. So when I got to college, I just, you know, I wanted to get the biggest I could get. I couldn't get taller. So I was like, I'm going to get stronger and wider. You know?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of guys like that out there that, you know, they get into college and they're like, man, like, you know, I'm just going to get big. And that's what my mindset was. And it was fun. Yeah. It was cool. I was out of shape. You know what I mean? Like,
probably looked like you were in phenomenal shape.
No, I wasn't chiseled. I mean, I wasn't, you know, I wasn't taking anything. I never took steroids, never took any. I was just stocky. Yeah, gotcha. You know, I mean, but I was, you know, suicide gripping 315 bench press. You know, I was doing 130-pound dumbbells on incline press. I mean, like nothing. You know what I mean? Like it was just, you know, what I did. It felt numb. Yeah. You know, because I was just so heavy and just, you know, bulky.
But yeah, if you tried to go wrestle for 30 seconds, like it'd be a wrap. Yeah.
No. And I think one of the big things too, on a side note, moving to Ohio, I got hooked up with the Shawnee wrestling program. Okay. And I assistant coached that for like 4 years.
Oh, nice.
And I think that was really good for me because I started to cut my weight. You know, I was like, I don't need to be this big, man. You know, and again, too, I started wrestling, what you just said. Yeah. And I was like, I can't breathe, you know? So then it was like 185, and then I was like 175. And I was really comfortable around 170, 175 for a while. And then I tore my ACL when I was 31. Ooh. Yeah, 31. And it was on a charity event, tug of war. Yeah, see? It's never when you're working out, man. People go, oh, did you get working out? No. Never. It's always something stupid. Something stupid. It was for charity too. Right. But anyways,
you admitted though, clearly.
I wanted to win.
Wasn't losing.
I wanted to win. So then that took me, because my leg never really recovered. I mean, I got, you know, it's good, but like it just never came back. Yeah. So then now I fluctuate between 155 and 160. Gotcha. So I think that's how I got to be that, you know, like that. Right. But again, to bring back your question, I never ran. I never ran. So when I wanted to do this, it was October of 2022, not even a year ago.
Dude.
Not even a year.
I started in September.
Yeah,
no
that's what I'm
joke.
talking about, man.
September was my first marathon,
And
and I didn't even know I was going there to do a marathon at first.
oh, really?
Yeah.
It kind of just I've read all these books and just the business side of it, and I have a lot of demons inside me, like what Goggins talks about.
Yeah.
And you read about that, and it's like
Cookie
it's not Goggins' demons, it's not what he went through, but it's what I went through in my life, and like all the crap that I dealt with, like even in school too, because people see me now. And they didn't, but when I was in school, man, I got bullied. I got picked on.
Right.
All that
Same.
crap that people are
Yeah.
talking about. Oh, we need to stop bullying and stuff, man. Like that made me a stronger person, man.
I know.
I went to school every day, got bullied by the same people. I even beat the crap out of one kid. That's how bad it was, man.
Oh,
Like
I
beat the crap out of one kid and they still bullied me. Like people from school didn't, and I'm like, you guys saw me beat the crap out of them and you're still on their side?
Yeah.
That's when I know there was no win. I just got away from it. You know what I mean? Then I started wrestling and lifting.
That's huge.
You know what I mean? And then they respected me.
Right.
Well, they respected me because I could beat the crap out of them. You know what I mean? And then I hung out with wrestlers and they're like weird and they're like, they're just going to put us in a pretzel or whatever. And I don't want to do that, So, and again, that's why I try and tell this story to maybe kids out there, maybe they're looking at this.
Right.
And it's like, dude, you got a whole life. Like school is just a minute little minute in your life. It seems like it's going to take forever.
Yes.
Like it's going to be like, I remember it was in 7th and 8th grade was my worst years. And my sister, she calls them my dark years, but and they were, my dad worked a lot at the time. He worked at newspapers and stuff. My mom worked. So a lot of that stuff like that, those are my demons.
Right.
I never talked to a therapist. I probably should have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like looking at it, I should have talked to a
Looking
therapist.
at it now that I feel like I'm way more emotionally intelligent, and I'm like, there's no way I shouldn't have been in some type of therapy.
Yeah. Like I should have been. I mean, I was messed up, like messed up. And I think wrestling and working out like saved me because it got me into, okay, now I have a goal.
Right.
And now I have a plan and like, all right, I'm going to get a 6-pack and I'm going to show those guys like, and I did. But again, though, did that make me happy? It didn't make me happy. I thought it was gonna make me happy.
Right.
And what Goggins talks about in his books, like you think something's gonna make you happy, and then you achieve it, and then you're like, well, all right, now I'm dating these girls, and like I feel like I'm doing what I thought I wanted to do, but it wasn't.
Did you feel that with the 100?
What? Well,
did it have the payoff that you were hoping that it would have?
No.
Well, that's great motivation for the next 2 months.
I will say this. I will say, hey, I signed up for Canal Corridor with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not with you, but I mean, I'm going to do that race. So you'll see me there. Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. So I'm doing it.
Yes. Dude, that's awesome. So we're taking like full media team because we're shooting
awesome.
We're shooting a documentary of it.
Oh, good deal.
So that's perfect.
I will see you there.
Yes, that's awesome.
I think a lot of people, like my dad and other people out there, like, man, you need, you just did 100 miles, like, and it was a hard one. I mean, it was 10,000 feet elevation, and
I've seen some pictures too, like the terrain,
muddy, man. It was, and I underestimated it. I didn't know it was going to be that difficult. I've ran some good trails, but that was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Because I ran Mohican, I ran a lap around it with some buddies.
I ran with David Paulf.
Yes. I ran with them.
Maybe last week. It was last Sunday. We did like 10 miles together.
Yep.
And he was telling me, because I was like, dude, I have a skull. And he's like, dude, I don't give a shit what the train is. He was like, 24 hours and under is like, he was like, that's some hard shit, essentially. And then he was telling me, he was like, and then when you start adding in, like these terrains with elevation or rain or mud, he's like, it seems small, but like when you're looking at that over 100-mile stretch, he was like, it adds up and it's hard. He's like, that's all I can tell you is it's hard. It
is the hardest thing you'll do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like mentally and physically.
That's all I want. Like, I don't even care about the physical part. I just,
I know.
I want that hard mentally. I want to see if that's in there.
And it is, you'll find that.
Goggins 60% rule.
It is.
That's in there.
And
I find it.
I think you will. It's just.
I know for sure. I told Ken, unless I leave in an ambulance,
no, I know. And that's how you have to go into it.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Like, hey, I will not. I don't know. Do you follow Chad Wright at all?
Chad Wright.
Big ass beard. Navy SEAL guy.
Yes, dude.
Okay.
He's crazy.
So he's kind of come up on the scene too.
Him and his brothers are like some backwoods, like hillbilly types.
Yeah, he's from Georgia. North Georgia has that accent. You know what I mean? Like he. I
just watched him.
Ironically, I was born in Georgia. But,
oh, really?
Yeah, the Cocodona 250.
Yeah, 250. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
But he has a documentary out. I think it's called One More Mile or something.
Yep.
But it's
I watched the whole thing.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Where like it's 1 mile every 20 minutes.
Oh,
did you watch that one?
What was it? Oh, I was thinking of More Than the Miles, and that's I think Nick Bear's movie.
Nick Bear. Yeah,
I did watch his when he was like the 250.
It's Cocodona. Yeah,
it was like him, his brother, and then whatever that dude's name is. He wears like fancy shirts and runs with him.
Yeah.
His buddy or whatever.
That's a good documentary too.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But the one I'm talking about is the one he did in Tennessee.
Okay.
And it's you have to run 1 mile every 20 minutes, but the terrain is 350-foot elevation and then 350-foot down. Oh, so when you're up there, it's half a mile, whatever, and you come down. And so they'd finish around like 18 minutes. That's like your kind of, you don't want to go, you don't want to get done in 7 minutes. You know what I mean? You're just going to burn out.
Right.
So they get done in 18 minutes. But this dude, he does it. I think he gets like 120 miles or something like that. I mean, 30 some hours of running just 1 mile loop.
That's
you know what I mean? Like
the mental fortitude. That's
and again too, he told everybody like when he was done, when he won, and he went up against and Chad Wright, he'll tell you, he's like, yeah, I'm a Navy SEAL, but or was a Navy SEAL, but I'm an average guy. I'm not a fastest runner.
He kind of
I'm not, you know what I mean? Like he's like, but I'm mentally tougher than all you mother effers. You know what I mean? And that's what he says. And he went up against the guy that got second was on the ultra running team. Wow. Like this guy was like a legit ultra runner, does all these runs, like becomes like top.
And if you just know that it's not going to break, like
I know. And that guy didn't think he was going to beat Chad, and Chad was like, I didn't think I was going to beat him. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then after like mile 90, he starts looking at him like I'm going to beat him.
Chance.
I'm going to beat him because he says it.
Right.
So you believe it, and it'll happen.
Yeah. Let me ask you something on that note too. So like, it sounds like you were doing the 100-mile and like getting into the stuff for the mental side of it.
All of it.
Like you've been in shape. It sounds like pretty much your whole life in some degrees of shape.
Yeah. Yes. Right? Yeah. Had nothing to do with getting in shape.
Yeah. So like for me, the running has nothing to do with like, I had already dropped the majority of my weight because I got up to like 290 at one
As we said. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had already dropped the majority of my weight before I even got into the running. It's strictly for the mental. I'm curious, like, why do you specifically like want that? Like, because
I'm the same way.
People survive their whole life without having it.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy you said that because I'm the same way. I don't do it for the physical.
Yeah, at all.
And the reason too, I tell people like, and again, we kind of get like weird looks, right?
Oh,
I'm sure you do when you start explaining it.
Yeah, I'm a psychopath all the time.
Yeah, and now he's looking at me like, man, there's two of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the same way. And they think maybe, we're masochists or whatever,
right.
Like, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit I am.
Right.
Maybe you are. I mean, we like a little bit of pain. Mm-hmm. But the thing about running 100 miles is you have to earn that pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you just can't get it.
No.
Even running 20 miles, like, oh, your feet hurt a little bit, your legs hurt a little bit, whatever. Like, no, that's not pain. Yeah. 50, you start getting pain,
Everybody's told me 60 to 70 miles the race to start.
I'm telling you, it's 70 miles.
Yeah.
When you get to 70, everything's broken. Like, I mean, your feet, your legs, and it's crazy now. And I love that I can say it now because I've done it and I've completed it and I've passed that.
Because you like studied people that said these things.
Yeah.
And now you fully understand what they were saying.
Yes. And I love it. I love that I've been there. I know I can tell you. And it's 70 miles and you don't hurt more. It just doesn't go away.
Right.
Constant. It's constant hurt. And mentally, the crazy part about it is like, how they say like there's ups and downs, and then there is, man. It's crazy. Like you'll have like 4 or 5 miles where you're just like, man, like I feel amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my! And then you'll get to 76 miles, and you're like, I'm done. I can't go anywhere. Let me sit down. I want to take a nap. Can I take a nap?
Right.
And then you're like, no, all right, just keep going. Just keep walking. We'll get in the groove again. And then 81 miles into it, then you're running again, and then you're like, okay, shit, I'm running. Sometimes sometimes running at that stage feels better than walking.
Right.
Because walking, and again, it's not a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
Walking mentally, you're like, there's no fucking way I'm going to finish.
Right.
I can't do this pace.
And it's going to take forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Like you can't do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So running just kind of helps you anyways. Yeah, it might hurt. And you don't want to do it.
Right.
But when you start going, the momentum kind of takes you and you're like, okay, well,
Yeah,
at least I'm going faster.
Yeah. And then your mind gets stuck too. And it's like,
yeah. And,
okay.
and I think to answer your question, because I didn't really answer the question.
No, you're fine.
Like,
I'm just
mentally, I think I go back to the demons that I have. And I think mentally, it helps me deal with emotions. Like I'm not an emotional person. I might tear up maybe, you know, like whatever, but I don't cry. I don't.
Same.
And I'm not gonna do that for my wife, for my kids, like ever.
I bawled like a baby at my wedding, but like my family was like, "Are you gonna cry?" Like I'm making a bet that you're gonna cry because they never.
Yeah.
Like they've seen me cry.
And I do
full of times my whole
like
life.
I want to tell people on here, like I do cry.
Oh yeah.
But it's just by myself.
Right.
Okay. I don't show anybody that, you know, and it's not because I think it's a weakness. It's just I don't do. I don't know. I do it in my car. I do it like on the way to work or whatever.
This is so random, but like, this is the first time that I've ever said this probably in my life. But what's weird is I'm the same way, but I don't even think that like, if I cried around people that they would look at me and be like, you're not as tough as I thought.
No,
I don't even feel that way.
No,
but I like refuse for whatever reason. Like I'll get up at night and be like, I'm going to watch videos of soldiers coming home and sit here and cry.
Yeah.
Like, for what reason?
I know.
But then I will not, like I've sat and watched, you know, horrible movies or like whatever situations where I'm like, I should probably be crying right now. And I'm just like, it's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
And your wife might be, you know, the same as my wife. My wife just, you know, it's because she's not like that. Like she is on my shoulder crying, like whatever's happening. Like, and again, too, we talked about this before the podcast started. You know, my mom is, you know, fighting cancer and we're talking about hospice right now. And it's just a shitty time. And, you know, that's a lot of emotions. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think like I got emotional since she's been fighting cancer? Oh, yeah. You know, but again, though, I compartmentalize that. I have a business to run. You know what I mean? I have a business to run. I can't be emotional to every freaking person that comes in my shop. Because guess what? Maybe their dad's dying of cancer. Maybe their dad died. I don't know. You don't, everybody's going through something worse, you know? So I pretend that my problems are nothing compared to whoever's come through that door buying a smoothie from me. And that's my job to make them feel that way. My job is to make them feel like, oh man, sorry, Chad, about your mom. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that. I don't want, and I appreciate it. Yeah. But I don't want people saying that. Like, I don't know what they're going through, you know? And I try and tell my employees that because they get attitudes sometimes and whatever. And I'm like, dude, you know, what if that lady, you don't know? What if something happened to her kid?
Brink. Yeah.
And what if it's her? You know, we don't know. Maybe she got diagnosed with cancer and she came in, you know? We don't know, you know? So you kind of treat people, I like to treat people like that, you know, like they're going through way worse things, and maybe they're not, you know, maybe they're just like a normal person and you know they got a raise at work and they're happy. I don't know. I'm gonna treat you like you just got the worst news of your life, because maybe that smoothie is gonna be the best thing in your day today. You know, like maybe my smile is gonna be the best thing you see all day. I don't know.
Well, when you said like compartmentalize,
yes, that's what I do.
Yeah, and I think that like for me with the like mental fortitude of it, I think that that's the thing that has helped me, you know, push through like hard runs and all that stuff, is because part of compartmentalizing for me is like, I've finally gotten to the point where I'm like, I can separate. I know I'm just in pain. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like that in my life to where it's not a lot of people I think are able to like put this away or even like have a hard time. Their day starts off, the first 10 minutes is shit. Yeah. And they just carry it the whole day. They're not able to just box up that 10 minutes and be like, okay, I'm going to sit that to the side and I'm going to move the hell on and not throw my day away.
And my wife hates that about me. She loves it about me, but she hates it about me because we will literally get in a fight. And then like, I'll go to work and I'll text her. I'm like, hey babes, what are we thinking for dinner? Yeah. You know what I mean? And she'll hate me. She's like, I'm not talking to you. And I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to argue with you. I don't have time to do this stupid crap. Now, if it's something important,
Right.
then yes. But if it's something stupid, like I didn't take the trash out or something like that, like I get it. I own it. Like that's my bad. But what are we going to do to fix that problem?
Right.
It is arguing and doing this stuff and making my day shitty and making your day shitty. Is that going to solve that the trash didn't get taken out?
Right.
And I explain that to her. I'm like, no. So let's not talk about it.
Yeah. We have
figure it out, you know, and she hates when I say it. I'll figure it out. She hates that when I say that. I say it all the time. I'll figure it out by the business or home stuff or the kids. We'll figure it out. You know, like I don't want to stress over shit.
Well, you know what I think that is too, is that I've seen a thing a few months ago that was talking about just like very high achieving people, and was saying that like most of them don't care about what they're wearing because their mind's so occupied on all the higher things, right? That they don't. Cam seems to be everything.
I wear the same shit.
Like 3 or 4 different shirts all the time, like all the time.
People see me outside Dash and Joey's, and I wear Dash and Joey's shirts.
Same.
You know, and
my wife gets pissed. We go to like out of town. She's like, a Legacy shirt? Like seriously, bro? I'm like,
I don't care.
What's wrong with this?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't.
It's because your mind is occupied with like things that actually matter. And I think that if that's the biggest problem, like when people don't have goals or they don't have things that they're aspiring to or like trying to actually push themselves or whatever it is, then it's easy to like let your mind get wrapped up on the dumb details and the negative shit. And when you're that busy and you're like pushing yourself that hard, it's like, I don't care about that dumb thing. Like, let's not argue about it. It's not that important. Let's move on to something that's important. That makes sense and is going to do better for us.
And that's how it is, you know, and I love her to death. But again, though, probably like your wife, she's a good balance for me because sometimes I need that.
I could imagine 2 of me in a house. Like if I married a wife that was just
no, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
it doesn't work because
like if either of us was married to Alexa, like is what it would be like.
No, it wouldn't work. Chaos. It wouldn't work, and she would know that. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, you're fun, but you know, nah, I need somebody that's gonna keep me in line. You know, because we do need that. Like, I need somebody. Like, I am the most unorganized person ever. That's how I've always been. You know, but I think that's how my brain is. You know, I'm ADD. Like, I go off tangents and I go off different things and I do this, but you know, and I'm OCD because once I freaking want to do something, I'm going to do it and I'm going to harp on it until that thing is done.
I didn't realize that OCD meant that until
it's obsessive compulsive. Yeah. So it doesn't mean you have to touch a light post for 10 times or something. Like that is part of it. But
I was just telling Nicole that I think. I was like, I didn't realize that because I definitely like now that you know I found running.
Oh, you definitely have
like,
yeah. And if you look back at well, and that's you know, and I think you know again we have to accept that as part of our.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I think for what we aspire to be and to be successful, I think you have to have a little bit of that.
Yeah.
You know, because there's no way if you don't have that, I don't know a lot of entrepreneurs that are successful that don't have a little bit of that.
Right.
You have to be a little obsessive compulsive. Like you have to be on something. If you want it, I mean, you got, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. For sure. And that's how this running thing came about. And again, going back to October and your September.
Yeah.
I went to some hard runs, you know, and it made me rethink, you know, and I'm like, holy crap, man, do I want to do this? Like, I mean, I just ran a 50K, 31 miles, and it kicked my ass, and I look like death. And my wife said, you don't look good, you know, like, and that was when I was learning, like, I didn't know I know nutrition, but you know, long distance running, like there is a pattern in what you do in gels and salt tablets. And I didn't do any of that. I didn't do any research on that, you know? And I look back at it, it's funny because that was my worst 50K I've ever done. But it was one of my best memorable ones because I pushed through. I teared up, like we talked about. I got emotional. It was like mile 22. And it was a hard run. If you ever done like Rocks and Roots in Columbus, I recommend doing that one because it's hard.
Gotcha.
The trails are just, you don't get there's no time to like run straight. It's like a winding trails, and it's just
like stay sharp.
Oh my, all the time. You're tripping all the time. You're tripping over roots.
Just running.
No. Yeah. I mean, you got to pay attention the whole time. I mean, I fell so many times. I tweaked my hamstring. I was like mile 22 in, and I'm like really contemplating quitting, and I'm not a quitter.
Right.
And I'm like, And then I look at my phone because I'm listening to music, you know, trying to listen to Goggins or something on my headphones. And I look and I have a picture of my boys. And, you know, I start tearing up. I'm like, yo, motherfucker, you're not quitting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not showing them I'm a quitter, you know?
Right.
So I made it back. It was like a 6-loop thing. It's like a 10K loop, a north loop and a south loop.
Gotcha.
And so I made it back. And that was I think the 3rd loop I finished. 6, 12, 18. No, it was the 4th loop I finished.
Okay.
And I sit down in the chair. And that's what my wife said, you don't look good. Like, you're pale. Like, you don't look good. And I'm like, I don't care.
This is the worst time to tell.
Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care. Like, I don't care what time. And it was an 8-hour time limit.
Oh.
So I'm on the ball now because I walked most of that loop.
Yeah.
I was doing really well. And then I did that shit. And I think it was a combination of like, I really didn't run that far a lot. And now I know, because I've ran 20-ish miles a lot now.
Right.
That is when you start to feel shitty.
Yeah.
Your legs start to feel it. Your feet start to feel it.
I think 20 miles is like dead on.
Yeah.
Where
it's around that time. And it doesn't matter how many miles you run. Like, that's around where most people feel it, you know? But I didn't know you come out of it. I didn't know that.
Right.
I felt like death, you know? Like, I was not going to finish this. So I sat down, got some Gatorade, got some stuff in me, and I stood up, and my wife, I'll never forget, she looks at me and she goes, You're still going? And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm still going. I'm like, I'm not fucking quitting. I'm like, they will have to come helicopter my ass out of this shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, did Chad quit? No, man, a fucking helicopter got him, man. Like, he went, you know.
And it's not like, I feel like when people hear other people say that, to me, it has nothing to do. Like, I do not look at myself and be like, oh, I'm a tough guy, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not the hardest motherfucker on the planet. Like,
no, actually,
I really do have those mindsets of like, you're gonna have to take me out in an ambulance.
Yes.
And it's just because I know I will not let myself quit. Yes. And I wish that more people realize that they have that in them.
They do.
I was at I could easily have been in prison at 400 pounds doing bullshit, or like have 8 baby mamas, and like, you know, for sure. Like, I was on those paths.
On that path, yeah.
And it's in there. Like, that is in there. You can be 22 miles in and be like, you're gonna have to pick me up by a fucking helicopter, or I'm dying on this course. Like, those are the only options.
And I remember the guy coming up to me, because I was one of the last people. I think I was out of 44. I think I was like 37th place or something like that. But that's one of my proudest races. I finished in 7 hours and 15 minutes. I had 45 minutes to spare because I got another second wind. Yeah. I was running most of that last, you know, that 6th loop or whatever, or the 5th loop. And that was one of the first times I got past my mental, you know, like I did it. You know, I was like, oh, all right, that's what they're talking about. And now then I was hooked.
That was done, right?
That was when I was hooked.
Because I had that.
I wasn't hooked before that.
My first marathon.
You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't.
It was almost like an outer body experience, honestly.
Yes.
Completely by myself. I started a half marathon. Yeah. Before we started, I told my wife, I was like, I'm gonna fucking leave my truck at the start line instead of taking the shuttle. And she was like, do not do that. And I was like, I'm doing it. And I was the only person that turned around and ran back. Like, I didn't know that the water stations were going to close. All this other stuff happened, right? I had to call my friend from Lima. I was in the middle of the country out in Salina. I was like, can you bring me water? Because there's nowhere around here. Like, I can't get to a gas station. Like, I'd have to run there. Yeah. She drove me 2 bottles of water and like but I literally had like outer body experience.
Oh, you do?
I got that.
Were you shaking?
Dude, I couldn't walk. Like, I would walk, and then as soon as I'd start running, like, all my legs would just pulsate. Oh, yeah. Getting stem. Everything was shit. It was crazy. But what I'm curious about is I've tried to replicate that feeling and what it did, and I haven't gotten it back yet. Yeah. Did you have something similar in that 100?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You'll get
talk about like what the lowest point for you was?
Well, let me say before I forget. Let me say I forget. So you'll know what I'm talking about, and you'll know it when we do the 100 at Canal.
I'm so pumped that you're doing it.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's running 100 miles is the most humbling thing you'll ever do, because you will get passed by a 55-year-old little lady. I'm telling you right now, and she will go dink, 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 dink. You know what I mean? Slow. You know what I mean? And you're like, gosh damn it, you know? And she's
the tortoise, we're the hare.
Yes. And that is, and it is. And you have to be okay with that. You have to run your race. And I've told people that. I said, they're like literally like you get like old ladies past you. I said yes, because you're not running 100-mile weeks.
Right.
Like I'm not running 100-mile weeks.
It takes time to build up that endurance too. Like they've got all that time.
Those ladies and those men, like David, we talked about, and Kevin and all, they're 55.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took them years to get like that.
Yeah.
And they will make it look easy, even though they're hurting too. But they will pass you, and then you'll be like, how the hell are you guys passing me? But they are doing 100-mile weeks like candy. You know, they are doing crazy miles. And I'll be honest with you, I think the highest mile week I did was 65.
Yeah, I don't think that my weeks are much more than that.
No, my average
probably right.
My average though is like 40.
Yeah.
45,
yeah, right now, like
maybe?
my training for just like strictly the running days is like 8, 10, 12, 26. Like, so yeah, it's 40, 45, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
No.
Like I've have big, like there's weeks that I have big chunks, like heavy chunks or whatever, that are in like probably 60 range. But
well, because
like
you have
normal,
because you have a race, the Myoconda, right?
So yeah,
100K.
Yeah, I'm doing 50K this weekend, 100K September 2nd, the Myoconda, and then
where's the 50K?
That's PAL, down by Columbus. It's called Noctera's Quitters Run.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, that's this weekend.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
nice.
That's this Sunday.
Good deal.
Our plan was like instead of trying to run these long races like around here, like just go somewhere where it's in that environment, already aid station set up, like water stations and all that stuff. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds fun.
I've done a few like hour races, like 8 hours of power, and I've done a 12-hour race, and whatever. Those are kind of cool too because there's just a time limit.
Right.
You run as many miles as you want.
That's what this is actually.
10?
This one's 6 hours. Yeah, this one's 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are kind of nice. Those will kind of test you too because you really don't know how to pace yourself because it's like, oh, I have a set amount of time. Like that's it, you know?
Right.
I think Burning River was the one that I did. My game plan going into it paid off because I didn't push myself too much, but I had to push myself enough till I made the cutoffs, right? But when I came back, I passed a lot of people. Like mile 70, 80, 90, like 97. I'm passing people, you know, because they're doing the death march and I'm running still.
Right.
And I think because again, you know, David and Kevin, the people that know, they were like, hey, don't do it. Don't go out. Don't go out too crazy, man. Because if you do, and you saw like all these people.
You're so excited too, like the adrenaline of the like.
You have to keep it back. You have to look at your watch and be like, bring it back. That's why I love the watch because it tells you like, hey, oh shit, I'm doing 7-minute mile. Like, no, Chad. You know, I can't. This is the leaders. Like, I can't be up with them. You know, so I did. You know,
so that was your plan was like slow, steady,
slower for me.
Keep some stuff in the reserve tank though. Yeah,
I was doing like 9.5. You know, going in. And again, when you go trails, totally different.
Right.
When you do trails, it's totally different. So I had, and again, people don't realize that. Like when you're going up an incline in the trails, okay, muddy, roots, rocks, everything, right?
Right.
Walking, you're not doing no 16-minute mile. You're doing 25-minute mile.
Right.
Because I'm not a hiker, I don't have poles.
Yeah,
like I didn't bring poles with me.
Why would you sprint like the uphills?
And you don't.
Yeah,
you don't.
Yeah.
I walked all the uphills,
right.
and that was one of the things I would recommend. You know, and I know Canal is flat. You know, it's mostly flat. Yeah. But I mean, if you do one like that, that's what I would recommend to people. It's like, you know, you walk all the uphills, all of them.
That's what I've heard.
You do not run the uphills, and then all the flats you run. Downhills you try and run, but even then, if it's steep, I was kind of walking a little bit because. You know,
so if the game plan like paid all, like if you kind of executed on exactly what you wanted to do, did you feel like you even really got that like you did in that 50K? Did you get that low point to where you were like?
Well, yeah, because other things pop up. You know, other things pop up that you don't anticipate. Like I've ran over 50 miles before.
Yeah.
But this one was more terrain, more obstacles, more things that I had to do than other races I've done. So I get to the 50-mile mark and I meet Dave and Kevin there. They're my pacers. So I meet them there and I started getting like right where my diaphragm is, like a big side ache. Like and I usually don't get side aches. And usually I get side aches when I eat and then I sprint or something,
Yeah.
or I run fast. And I wasn't running fast. And I started getting that like mile 47, 48. I'm like, what is this? I kept pushing on, you know, you push on, like I kept running. I'm like, whatever. So I get there and I'm telling them this, and they're like, hey man, you know, it is what it is. You know, you got to put up with, it. And I'm like, oh, I know, I'm gonna put up with it. But I'm like, do you think it's going to go away? And they're like, it could not, you know, I mean, you could be dealing with it forever. I don't know. So man, I dealt with that shit for like 25 miles, man. Like it would not go away. Just like a piercing, just
Was that the hardest
stabbing
part for you,
pain.
like, mentally throughout that race?
No.
Oh no.
No, that wasn't even the most hardest part. No, the hardest part when I got to like 75 or in the 70s, right? I got, my goal was to get to 70 miles before it got dark. I got to 67.
Gotcha.
So I was pretty close. And then they rerouted us. Okay. Again, I wasn't prepared for that. They rerouted us because the river flooded.
Okay.
Because of rain. So they didn't tell us that they were going to move the aid station 2 miles more. So I'm thinking we're supposed to be at this aid station like 4.5 miles in, and it's not there. And so luckily, Kevin was with me, one of my pacers, and he's like, all right, calm down, calm down. He's like, yeah, I think we just have to keep going till he's, I don't know how long it is, man. And I'm like, and I'm about to lose it, man. You know, I'm about to lose it. Just mentally, I'm just exhausted. I just want to sit down on a picnic table and get some chips or something, you know, and water. And I'm like, dude, it ended up being 2 more miles, dude. You know, 2 miles like felt like forever.
Oh, I can't
and we didn't even know.
At that point, I can't imagine.
And we didn't know. Where is it?
Yeah.
We kept turning. No, finally found it. And I'm like going off, you know, like just, you know, all these spectators were like looking at me like, what the hell? And all the runners coming out were doing the same thing. They were like yelling and getting pissed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, because they didn't tell us, you know, they didn't tell us. All they had to do was say, hey, man,
2 miles up here.
2 miles more.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, but at least let you know we moved the aid station and it's going to be 2 miles up.
Yeah. So you better bring some waffles with you or something. You better bring more water or whatever, you know, like mentally, you don't fuck us like that, man. Like it was a total mind fuck.
Do you feel like there's like, cause I definitely do. Do you feel like there's like some life, like simulations in there from like that scenario?
Yeah.
And like just how life is in general.
Yeah. Life sucks, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Life sucks. I mean, there's some good moments. You know what I mean?
Nobody.
I don't want to come across as like negative, but I mean, like, but that's what it is. I mean, life has
life has suffering. Life is full of suffering.
Yes. And that's what it is. And as long as you understand that,
usually because of some type of suffering being attached to it. And
and that's what the 100-mile race does, man. It brings you there, man. It brings you to that, you know, that grit and whatever. And I will say this too. So you get to mile 88, and you can look this up on the Burning River, the results.
Okay.
So I was just intrigued, as you would be. I wanted to see where was the longest somebody got to and they quit.
Oh yeah, you mentioned.
Remember I told you that?
I said something to somebody at the gym about this and was like, that is
crazy,
right?
That's
heavy.
So 15 people, minus 1 or 2, but I think it was 15.
Close to, yeah.
15 people quit at mile 88.
That's insane.
And I remember mile 88. It sucked. And you have more than a half marathon to go because it ended up being like 102 miles because of the reroute. And
gotcha.
I don't know. It wasn't exactly 50 miles halfway. It was like 51 or something. I don't know. Anyways, I knew it was more than 100 miles. So in your head, you're like, shit, I got more than a half marathon left. And I think it was just too much weight on people. I think it was just the head games of the 80-mile reroute and the aid station fuck with people.
Right.
And then they get to that point and they're like, oh, I'm not even at 90 miles. Like I still got all this way to go. And like Goggins said, man, they let their mind win, man. Their mind talked them out of it. You know?
Yeah, well, and I think that's like, if I'm looking at this from, you know, somebody that's not at the point where we're at, that's like, dude, we feel like we know that it's just all in our head. And like, all we got to do is like turn that on and then there's nothing that can't be accomplished.
Yep.
Right. And I feel like where most people miss that aren't there yet. And like, even the people that I've tried to talk to that are close to me, like friends and stuff, that I'm just like, bro, you're not getting it. Like, it's just this, is all that stuff's going to happen throughout your life. Like people aren't going to give a shit that they didn't tell you that they're moving the aid station. They're not going to care to move the aid station and what it's going to do to you mentally.
Yep.
And like, is this going to break somebody's will that they think they're going to turn this corner and there's going to be an aid station and it's not for 2 more miles after they've ran 80 miles? People aren't going to care. Like, just like in other aspects of life, people don't care about hurting your feelings. They don't care about whether what they're doing is right for you or whatever. Like, literally all you can do is what you did. Like Kevin said, like, it's going to be there. I don't know. We just got to keep running.
Got to keep going.
Like, all you have to do is just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. Eventually the aid station is going to show up.
And in reality, you know, when you push and you do a business or when you do the race, whatever, right? And you know what I'm going to say then you'll laugh because I laugh. But people root for you to fail. Yeah. All the time.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes they're people that you know.
Usually,
and not my friends, my friends, because my circle's tight. Usually, I'm sure your circle's tight.
That hate you the most, you know them. They're not people in the background that you don't know.
For sure. And I know some of them.
Yeah,
I know some of these people.
Yeah.
That they hope that I fail the Dash and Joey's. They hope that I fail at running. Like, oh, I can't believe he made it. You know what I mean? Type that. Like, oh my gosh, like, you know, oh, you did it. You know what I mean? Like,
they want to get the sharp little comments off.
Exactly. Like oh, you did it in 28 hours, or you didn't do it. Like, motherfucker. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't do 10 miles. You know what I mean? You couldn't do 10 miles. But that's the thing is, like, you gotta block that out. You know what I mean? And I think, at mile 88, those thoughts go in your mind, you know? But again, though, what else did I tell you? At the next aid station at mile 92 and a half, 0 people quit. Really? So 0 people quit. Wow. So all that 1 out of 15 or whatever those 15 people, if they would have known that, do you think they would have continued? I think so. Yeah. If you would have told them, like, hey, man,
you don't have to
92 and a half,
13 more miles. No, you got to do
4.5
more miles. Yeah.
4.5. That's all you got to do, buddy. That's all you got to do, Adam, whatever your name is. You know what I mean?
That dude.
And you know what? I give Kevin and Dave, my pacers, all the credit. And they laugh about it, like, oh, man, you would have done it without us. I'm like, no, I wouldn't have, because I think I would have broke in the dark. My headlamp started flickering. I didn't have extra batteries. They had extra batteries. I was using my flashlight, for my phone.
Keep those people around you.
You know what I mean? Like, they were the ones that, like, I fed onto. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they helped me get through, like, the harsh time. Now, it was me. I had to do it. I had to make the miles. I had to run. But mentally, it helped me tremendously with them.
Goggins and Jocko both have similar things here. Like, Goggins has his 1 second rule where he's like, it takes 1 second for your brain to be like, don't quit. Every time you have that 1 second decision, just be like, no, I'm not quitting yet. No, I'm not. And he's like, you fail one time, like in your race, if there was 1 second that you're like, I'm done, then you stop and you're done, whatever.
Nope.
Jocko, I love what Jocko says about, like, if you want to stop or you want to, like, in that race, he would be like, okay, so you want to quit right now? Just go to 81 miles and then quit. And then, because by the time you get to 81 miles, you're probably going to be like, all right, I'm just going to do 82.
Yep.
I'm just going to do 83. And
it is
so
like
crazy that 94.5 more miles, nobody quit after that.
No.
But everybody looks at these huge things and they're like, oh my God, I got to do this huge task, instead of just being like, just break it up in little bitty pieces.
And a lot of that, I blame their pacers. You know, I blame the people that were there with them, because what we talk about were those people that maybe thought that they didn't want you to succeed.
Right.
Maybe you brought one of those people along. You know what I mean? That you didn't know.
Right.
But maybe secretly they're like, oh, hey, man, oh, man, like, it's okay, man. I know your feet are horrible and that you probably broke some toes and whatever. Like, hey, it's okay. 88. No, dude, nobody runs 88 miles, man. You're the shit. You're the best. No, like, that's not a friend. A friend's going to be like, get your ass up. We're going to go, because I'm not going to hear the end of this thing because you didn't do it.
Yep.
We're going to get you that damn finish line.
But you hear, Cam, when Nicole mentioned that? When Nicole said, she's like, you do realize that, like, if you don't finish this, like, nobody's going to be like, if you run 60 some miles, nobody's going to be like, oh, you didn't. And I was like, well, that's not a fucking option. Like, and first, you should be like, if I don't finish, you should be like, what the fuck? You said you were going to do this. Like, those are the people that I want around me.
Yep.
Cam's going to be pacing me for part of this race.
Yeah.
Any of those people, if they would ever be like, dude, it's okay if you could, I'd be like, get the fuck away. Like,
well,
I
but-
would
but
freak
see,
out
but see-
for sure.
But see, you never have to
I
do
would
that
freak out.
because you know them.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
you know
And
that
I'm not
they're in
gonna
your
put those people
circle. You know what I
around
mean?
me.
Like,
Yeah. I will
they're
not put
they're
those people
not
around me.
going to. Like, you literally, like, they would have to call 911 and do CPR on you for
Right.
them to be like, hey, maybe you probably should do this. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
At that point,
that's when they know, like, okay, probably, yeah, save your life instead of just continue the race.
Yeah.
But, you know, those are the people that you need,
Yeah.
you know, by your side and in
Right.
your corner.
I agree.
And that's a main thing too. And that's in life in general.
And it's just huge. Like, I think that what you said with the Pacers too, that you're like, I know I couldn't have done it without my Pacers.
No.
There's so many freaking people, whether it's running 100 miles or like doing their business or being successful in any type of anything, they're so freaking worried about themselves that they're always like, it's in the second thought is, you know, the team helped me, the Pacers helped me, my family helped me.
Dude.
Like,
Yeah.
the people that have that mindset too, like, you're going to go so much further when you're just willing to just be grateful and be like, couldn't have done it without these guys. Like, I'm so happy I have all these people around
Well,
me.
it's entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? Like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, dude, I have a financial advisor. I have a payroll company. I have a lawyer. I have what else do I have? I have I mean, you name it. I
Takes a
have
team.
an accountant.
Right.
I don't do any of that stuff because you know why? Because one, I don't care. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Again, ADD, man. Like it literally gives me anxiety to give my stuff to my tax guy.
Really?
I hate doing it. And my wife's like, all you got to do is hand them stuff. And I'm like, I don't even want to do that. I don't even want to put it in a folder and give it to him. Cause like, I just can't do it right now. Like, I literally wait till the last minute.
Right.
And my tax guy's like, I need it tomorrow. I'm like, well, I guess I'm doing it tonight. You know what I mean? Like, I won't do it because it just gives me anxiety. Like mail, I'll let mail pile up.
I'm very bad at that.
And my wife is like, you have to go through your mail. And I'm like, can you go
Mail
through
gives
it?
me
Like, can you go through
anxiety.
the
Yeah.
mail? And then most of it's like, yeah, I paid that, you know, online, whatever. Like, oh, that's junk mail, whatever.
Right.
But like, I don't want to go through it.
Mhm.
Like, I'm bad at that. You know, emails, you can send me emails. I don't, you know, and it is bad because I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
I should get back to people.
But you know that it's things that you're not good at and you've surrounded yourself with
Yes.
people that are good in those areas.
Yes, please make me better. You know what I mean? Make me better. Make me do those things. Make me, you know, where I'm not going to go to jail. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because I'm
Yeah.
evading taxes, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because I'm not trying to, but like, here, what do I need to do? What do I need to pay? What do I send it to? I don't know.
Yeah.
And my payroll company too. Like they, you know, I don't have many employees, but you know what? I'm not sitting there and figuring out my one employee that lives in Wapak gets different tax shit than my one in Spencerville.
Right.
And I'm not doing that crap.
Yeah.
I don't care. I will
Right.
pay the $200 a month
We're
I'm
all
paying.
about putting the people around.
You know what I mean? And then guess what? If I get audited, talk to them. That's my company.
Right.
I don't have to do
They
shit.
fall back on you.
They're like, oh, Chad, here's the paperwork. It's already happened. I was like, oh, cool. Here it is. You know, they send me it. You know what I mean? Like they send it. Yeah, here's all your stuff. You send everything in. Like, oh, cool. And then it was nothing. And I'm like, oh, all right. You know, and that's why I pay them. And that's why I pay all these people around me and smarter people around me that know what they're doing and making me more money because I'm not going to do that.
Right.
You know, I know what I'm good at.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Double down on your strengths.
Yep.
Hire your weaknesses or surround yourself with people that complement your weaknesses and just go all in on what you're good at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I know that you have obviously very pressing things to get to.
Yep. Yep.
Once again, super appreciate you taking the time out of what you guys have going on with your mom and stuff.
Yep.
Obviously, all of us will be praying for her and wishing her the best for sure.
Thank you, man.
And for your family. So I have a couple of final things. You mentioned books, that you really like books.
Yeah.
Are you big on quotes?
I
Quotes just stick with me.
stick with you.
I love books, but
yeah, I can lines from books or something. I can
Gotcha.
kind of go out, but like quotes, I really don't. You know,
Gotcha.
I mean,
I just really like asking people like what a quote is that like either right now or just an all time that they really enjoy.
Yeah, I don't really have like a.
No.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never been like a quote person.
Yeah.
But I will.
Is there a book that you'd
There's
recommend
a
right
lot
now?
of books. A lot of books.
So let me ask you this. You are new into running, right?
Yes.
But you just completed a 100-mile freaking race
Yes. Yeah.
in a year,
Yeah.
less than a year.
Less than a year. Yeah.
So obviously that doesn't just like happen, and it's probably not the path that most people would take.
No. Sometimes
But-
it takes years for people to
Yeah.
do it. You know.
But
Yeah.
if somebody was watching this and they're just like, dude, that sounds interesting, or like, okay, if this dude can do that in a year, like I can do something.
That's what we hope.
Yeah. That's
right?
That's it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I tell
don't need
people
you to
all the
run 100
time, like,
miles,
I
just do something.
guarantee you, you know, he could run 100 miles. Anybody can run 100 miles. I guarantee it. But one is a desire to do it.
Right.
Two, are you going to put the effort into it? And then three, do you have those, like Goggins said, do you have those demons inside you to manifest success?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't, they always talk about the why. I'm sure you've had that
Yeah, you
already.
gotta have
Like,
the cookie jar.
yeah, like why are you running 100 miles? You know what I mean? If you don't know why, you're not going to finish it. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to finish it because if you, and a lot of those people that quit, they don't have a why, or a why strong enough. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I get it. Sometimes, you know, you get hurt or whatever. And I'm not saying that, like, I'm just saying that, like, if everything, all else, like your feet hurt, whatever, everybody's feet hurt, everybody's leg hurt. You know what I mean? Everybody's tired, sleep deprived. You know what I mean? Like, I don't stay up. I have kids. Like, I go to bed at 9. You know what I mean? Like me staying up for 28 hours and honestly, it was 30 hours because I woke up at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
It was like 30 some hours to stay up. Was more to me like, wow, I stayed up all that time. I didn't take a nap. You know, like I stayed awake, let alone run the 100 miles. You know, that was like in and of itself was crazy to me. But I think, it comes down to the why. And I think a lot of, like, Goggins goes over that. Tim Grover goes over that. Rich Roll goes over that in his books.
I really think that Goggins' books are like, dude, it's just because it's so dumbed down. Like, when I say dumbed down,
it's such easy to read.
Yes. And there's no like fluff to it. There's no big mental tricks and like, you know,
and he says that
there's no affirmations that you got to do. Like, there's nothing. It's very cut and dry.
It's not a self-help book.
No,
he says
he says it's not a self-help book.
I'm not trying to fucking help you.
Yes.
You know, like, this is my life.
Yeah.
Get off your ass and do something.
100%.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I think a lot of people in the industry that he's in, Navy SEALs and general, and he's had disputes with Navy SEALs, ex-Navy SEAls.
Kyle,
I think a lot of them are just jealous of him, and I think
so too, because
I think a lot
of
it
turned it off, and they turned it off and got soft over the time.
And I think they're jealous because they can't relate to people like he can. Like, why is his book selling millions? Why do people watch him on, you know, YouTube?
Even if it's like, I was a more decorated Navy SEAL.
Yeah, I did all this stuff.
I had more kill. Like,
it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about this motherfucker talks the shit and walks it. You know what I mean? Like, he does it every day. He accomplishes all that stuff that he's done. He didn't just say it, he did it. And he does it in a way that, like, you know, that we talk. The way we talk, it's a normal people. You know, it's not a book I'm like bored.
That's what I'm saying. It's not from a doctor, a psychiatrist.
No, man. It's a regular dude. And he's like, I had a fucked up childhood. I went through this shit. I changed my life, and you can too.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to come to your house and do it, but it's like, here's how I did it. And you don't have to be a Navy SEAL or run 100 miles, which we took it as we're going to run 100 miles. But I think everybody has whatever they're going to do. And I think he's changed a lot of people's lives. I think he's changed my life.
He does. Yeah. For me, like, people, I talk about him so much that I feel like people think, like, you know, I'm taking his word as gospel, which I do to an extent, honestly.
Yeah.
But I think it's because our whys are so similar, because I have like opened the door and looked and been like, that's exactly what your life's going to be. And I've been in it. Like, I've seen exactly what the other side of not putting in the hard work and doing all the stuff is, which is pretty much what he said. Like, I've seen the other side. I know that I'm still this 300-pound piece of shit underneath all this, but I just keep showing up because I refuse to let that be, you know, my life and my story. Yeah. And that's literally all it takes, is looking at, is this what you want? No? All right. Well, you see what that looks like? You're just, from there to here is just some hard work. That's it. Yep. All the stuff that you don't want to do all that stuff. Yep. And that's all he pretty much says.
And if anybody takes away from this podcast that we just talked about, you know, and I think you could, you know, relate to me, and I can relate to you, that we're not special people. No, we're not the best athletes. Nope. We're average people, man. And it always gets to me too. Like, when I worked at the gym, people are like, oh man, you work at a gym, you can work it out all the time and blah, blah, whatever. And I'm like, dude, like, you don't know like how much effort and work I do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of these people that can eat McDonald's, and I never was. I never could eat McDonald's and drink pop and have a 6-pack. Like, no, man,
Same.
I work my ass off and I still really don't have a six pack. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just some bodies are not like that. You know what I mean? Like, I work for what I got. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Don't tell me that I was given, oh, look at your dad, man. And if you just see my dad's in shape, man. He's 62. He has a good chest on him. And I mean,
Yeah.
he looks like he's 48. You know what I mean? Like, and then people like, again, they associate, oh man, but your dad, man, you have good genetics. And I'm like, bull fucking shit, man. Like genetics, fuck all genetics. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, if my dad's 6'8", then you know, I'm maybe
Right.
in the NBA.
And
Okay,
it might
whatever.
give you an edge, but you're talking about an edge on like the spectrums.
Yes.
Those edges are on the very wide end of the spectrums. Like,
Yes.
this is just normal people shit.
We're normal and we're normal. And but they wanna, like Goggins always said, remember?
gives them
Remember how he
reason.
says like people want to put him up on a pedestal. And it's like, oh, you were a Navy SEAL.
Oh, and they're always like, well, you just have your mind's just different. Like,
yeah,
no, it's
and
not.
it's like, no, man, he's a normal dude. And that's why you and I and other people that I've talked to like get it. I think still a lot of people, even that follow Goggins, don't get it.
Yeah.
But I think we understand him. We get him
Yes.
because he's a normal dude.
Yes.
And you don't want to call him average, but he is. He's an average dude, but he does extraordinary things.
Yes, because he's,
you know what I mean?
He just is relentless with the work, though.
Because he puts in the work.
With
He grinds it. I'm never going to do that.
Right.
And just like Gary Vee, I don't want that.
But
I don't want Goggins because Goggins was going to his third marriage. You know what I mean? Like,
no,
you know what I mean? Like,
I put in that amount of work as Goggins, though, that I could do the things that he did.
oh,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
But I know that I'm not willing to put in that work that he's putting in.
Exactly.
Like, for sure.
No.
Could I put in the same amount of work as Kobe Bryant and then go be in bed? No. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that takes actual talent and ability.
Yes.
And that you groom
That
over time.
yes.
What Goggins has done, what you have done, what I'm trying to do, like what all of these people that are just like doing things to better their lives have done. It is not anything that nobody else can do. Like, every single person can do these things.
And that's what I want people to understand listening to us.
Yeah.
Is that if you're ever going to get, because if you don't want to look at Goggins, fine. Okay. Because he's above us for sure. Right. Yeah. But if you're going to look at this table, there's nothing special with us, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like nothing.
The differentiator is the work.
And I want people to understand that and be like, if you have nothing right now and you're looking at this podcast and you're like, oh man, you know, whatever, like that's what those are some of my demons because I hate when people say that. I hate when people say, oh, your dad did this for you. Oh, you get given this. I'm like, I ain't get given shit. Yeah. You know, I worked my ass off for the gym. I didn't know I was going to go. My dad put his 401k and all the money into that thing. Like I had no clue it was going to go. I was scared shitless. Yeah. And I was like, that's part of my money, you know, my inheritance, you know what I'm saying? Right. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. And that kind of transcended into Dash and Joey's where I knew how to work hard. And I knew that, hey man, you got to push just as hard as you did the gym or Dash and Joey's going to fail too, or fail. You know what I mean? Like you can't just rest on your laurels and just say, oh, people will come, you know, they know me from the gym and they'll come. No, man, I get people from the gym, but so many people of my regular customers don't even go to the gym. Well, don't even work out. Yeah. And they think, oh, really? I think a lot of your customers would be like workout people. I do get a lot, you know, but the majority of my regulars that come in 3, 4, 5 times a week that make me successul, they don't even work out. They're normal people, man. Right. You know, they just don't want to make a smoothie at home and maybe trying to eat a little bit better. You know what I mean? That's it. Yeah. And I love it. I love it that they're coming to me and like, that's awesome because I get to meet new people and whatever. And like, maybe if I tell them some things, maybe, you know, I think I'm going to start working out or whatever. I'm like, awesome, man. That's great. You know, because they see it. And maybe somebody watching this, we're not telling them like, hey, you need to do this and this. No, man, we're not telling you to do anything. Yeah. We don't make you do anything. You have to do it yourself. Yep. Nobody's going to give you something. Yep. Okay. So listen, nobody's going to give you anything. Right. So if you want to do it, earn it. And then when you put the work in, it's even that much more satisfying when you're like, I did it. And you know, I did
overcomplicate it. Like they want the secret sauce. They want to know like, what's the difference, dude? Like I thought about doing something, but like, how did you figure it out? And it's like, there's no secret sauce. There is no differentiator.
No shortcut.
There's no shortcuts. It is literally just do the work over and over and over and over and over. And if you keep doing that and showing up over time, it's impossible to not make that type of product. Like it's literally impossible
to fail.
People don't get it. Like it's impossible that you don't get better. If you went to the golf course every single day for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, you would turn into a pretty decent golfer.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing with fat. It's the same thing with work,
Yep.
with money, with a marriage. Like if you show up every single day, you're going to become a better husband.
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible.
Yep.
Yeah. People just overcomplicate it in general.
Yep.
But I think that's a great point to end on, is like, but there's no difference. Like,
No.
if you're scared to look at Goggins and Jocko and all these people, like, cool. Like, we're not doing that. They're doing it on a way higher level.
Way higher level.
But if you look at either of our lives and you're like, oh, that would be not, like, you can do it.
Yep.
Just a little bit of work.
Yep.
So
exactly.
last question that I have for you is pretty simple. Building legacy means different things to different people. We have an idea what it means to us, but I'm curious what that looks like for you and like what you want your legacy to be when you're done.
Yeah, I think I don't think I'll ever be done. I think I'm always going to be doing something.
Yeah.
I think that's all of us. I think it's not like, I get to retire at 65. I think entrepreneurs were just a weird breed, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And I think too that we make our own money. That I don't have a 401k.
Yeah.
I don't have a dental plan. You know what I mean? Like I think that makes us different in the way we think. I have an IRA and investments and stuff like that. Right. So I think, my legacy is, it's not like, oh man, like he owned Dash and Joey's and was part of the gym and he ran 100-mile races and whatever. Like, I think my legacy I want to be is that when my kids get older, that they can be like, you know what? Like I want to be like, if I can be half of what my dad is or was, when I hope I'm living till whenever, but yeah, if I'm 80 or 90 years old, you have grandkids and whatever, and they're like, Grandpa, like, if I could be half of what you are, I'll be happy. You know what I mean? Like, that's my legacy. Like, if my kids and my grandkids tell me that, like, that means I've succeeded.
Is that not like the best compliment as a man that you could ever
hope
to hear from your son, or?
Oh, for sure.
Just
any if he said that, I'd probably tear up. You know?
Oh yeah,
like, sure. I might let some tears come.
I said that to my father-in-law at my wedding, and like, I truly meant it, because like I said, I grew up with a guy that raised me, and for the past 18 years, I haven't had a dad, and I meant it. Like, when I said that to him, I meant it, and I know that meant like the world to him, and that's a great, like, you're the first person that said that, of like, I just want them to look at me and be like, if I was half the person that they are, that I've succeeded. You're the first person that said that, but that is massive, and that's a huge goal.
Yep, I'm gonna keep working.
Seems like
I'm gonna keep grinding, and that's why I think, and on that note, I think that's why I'm not done running 100-mile races, and I think that's why I signed up for another one, just in for the mental side of it too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, that's a quick turnaround, especially for normal people. Like, we're not ultra runners that go out and do all this stuff.
Paid to go train 7 days a week, and
we're just doing it on our own time. And I think that's why I'm not done. I think I'm not done after Dash and Joey's. I think I'm going to keep continuing and doing things. I have ideas and I want to do these things. Kind of at the, my wife is, she's on board, but kind of like, hey, and I'm like, I get it. I'm not going to do I'm not going to do anything crazy like I've been doing. I think I need to do some more passive income stuff.
Right.
But even then, my mind, just like yours, I think my mind just keeps churning, and like, what does Lima need? And I think Lima, like I said, is my home. Like, I'm not moving. I'm not leaving. My kids are here. Like, I'm planted. Like, you guys have me for better or worse. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here, and I want to make Lima better. Like, what can we get? What do we not have? Like, it's kind of one of those things, find a need, fill a need,
Well, it's good because every person that's said over there that I've talked to has said the same thing. Like, as far as Lima goes and like giving back to the community and stuff like that. So, I mean, I know that we at least have a good handful of us that are like some
We
go-getters that
do,
are
man.
really
Got some good people
stuff around here. So hopefully we can pick up the slack where these people over the last 30 years have like tried to make things happen and just haven't been able to, or didn't want to.
Yep.
So, well, I really appreciate you again, man. And seriously, more than anything, that you took time away from what you have going on with your family and stuff means a lot. For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely gonna have to get some runs in with you then before the canal. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna sign us off here. So if you guys enjoyed that, man, that's packed full of a ton of good information. The biggest takeaway that I have in that is just like Chad said at the end, what we're talking about is not us gloating or us telling you guys like, look at us, look what we can do. We're talking about it because it's something that every single person that's watching this or listening to this can do themselves. So if you guys enjoyed that, please subscribe to the channel, like our social media pages, give it a share, tag somebody that needs to hear this stuff. And as always, get out there and make your last name mean something.